2024 latest horror film from the Philippines. The thrilling arrival of the Ghoul Child. The so-called Ghoul Child is actually made from children's bones, or child dolls made from corpse oil. Therefore, the Ghoul Child is what people often refer to as raising a ghost. Such things usually have the effect of changing one's fortune, but a slight mistake can lead to disaster. The consequences are endless. The beginning of the story. Single mother Clara is raising a pair of lovely children. She thought she could always be by her children's side, but she didn't expect that due to a moment of negligence, it would lead to her son dying in a car accident while crossing the street. Since then, Clara, filled with deep regret, has kept her son's ashes with her. Her fiancé, Sai Chun, saw this scene and felt a deep pain in his heart. To alleviate Clara's pain of losing her child, he even decided to marry Clara ahead of schedule. However, before that, they still needed to go to Thailand to seek his mother's consent. So the two of them set off with Clara's daughter, Katie. Unexpectedly, on the way, a crow suddenly flew into them at high speed. Sai Chun hurriedly got out to check the situation after braking. He found that the crow was already on the verge of death from the impact. To reduce its suffering, Sai Chun had no choice but to break the crow's neck. This strange incident left everyone feeling uneasy. Fortunately, there were no further abnormalities afterward. They not only arrived smoothly at Sai Chun's hometown in Thailand, but also saw his warm and hospitable mother, Kun Nan. Kun Nan couldn't help but praise Clara and her daughter as soon as they met. To show her affection for them, Kun Nan even let Katie help her place the flower basket on the altar beside. You must know that for someone like Kun Nan, a superstitious old person, she never allows anyone to touch the altar at home. However, Katie accidentally knocked over the vase on the altar. What have you done? Can't you follow simple instructions? Kun Nan's intense reaction startled Katie and her mother. In the end, it was only with Sai Chun's reassurance that the mother realized she had overreacted. So, in the blink of an eye, she turned back into that kind and friendly old person. She even bluntly said it was the vase that was the problem, and had nothing to do with Katie. When evening came, Kun Nan prepared a lavish dinner for the mother and daughter again. Clara initially thought that Kun Nan was apologizing for what happened during the day. Little did she expect that Kun Nan wanted her to remember these dishes. In the future, she wants to often cook for her precious son. Clara secretly glanced at Sai Chun, who was grinning foolishly beside her. She could only nod helplessly. She thought Kun Nan would say something like this, indicating that she had already accepted their marriage. But after learning that the two planned to go out of town after marriage, Kun Nan unexpectedly left the dining table in a bad mood. Sai Chun understood that his mother did not want him to leave her. However, he and Clara had already decided to live together with his mother in the future. However, when he privately approached his mother and mentioned this matter, his mother still disagreed. She even wanted them to cancel the engagement and part ways. Sai Chun naturally refused, so he decided to come back in a few days to persuade his mother. The next morning, he took Clara to the town to shop and relax. But Clara had not yet moved on from the pain of losing her son. When going out, she always took her son's urn with her. As a result, she was mistaken by a female beggar on the street. The beggar thought she wanted to create a spirit child, so she snatched the urn away. She made Clara follow her. They ran all the way to a temple on the outskirts. It was only then that Clara understood. It turned out that this beggar was actually looking for clients with special needs for the temple. She originally wanted to leave with her son's ashes, but when the wizard asked her if she wanted her son to be revived, Clara hesitated immediately. She ultimately decided to give it a try. So, under the wizard's arrangement, she poured out her son's ashes. As the wizard began to chant the incantation, Clara took the dagger handed to her and cut her palm. She dripped her blood onto a skull doll. The wizard reminded her, the son's soul has been sealed in the ghost doll. From now on, he must be treated and cared for like a biological son. Especially, he should eat more sweets and drinks. When the time comes, he will naturally transform into his former self. In order to bring the son back to life, Clara decided to choose to believe the wizard's words. This scene is truly spectacular. I really want to drive there to see it in person. Speaking of cars, I recently bought a car from Gwazi Used Cars. I bought a BYD Han. It only cost a little over 90,000. That's 100,000 cheaper than a new car. It drives just like new. New cars depreciate quickly now. Gwazi is particularly cost-effective. Every car at Gwazi has undergone official professional inspection. You can test drive for 3 days first, so you can buy with confidence. If you have a used car, you can also auction it nationwide through Gwazi. In short, trust me, Gwazi is the right choice for buying and selling used cars. By the time she returned to Sai Chun's house, it was already late at night. Kun Nan, who hadn't had a chance to rest yet, she was immediately startled by the ghost doll in her arms. Kun Nan recognized at a glance. This doll is an ancient spirit child crafted by a sorcerer. Although they can fulfill the host's wishes, they can also bring disaster. They can even devour the host's soul. However, Clara did not believe that her son's soul would harm her. She didn't take Kun Nan's warning to heart at all. But what Clara didn't know was that ghosts that die unexpectedly will harbor resentment. Once they realize they're trapped in an ancient spirit child, this resentment will only grow stronger. Sure enough, that night, the doll in Katie's arms inexplicably fell to the ground. She thought someone was hiding under the bed playing a prank. However, she found that there wasn't even a shadow under the bed. Katie had no choice but to return to bed with her doubts and continue resting. But just at that moment, a pair of hands suddenly reached out from her blanket, trying to grab the doll. Katie screamed in fright on the spot. Clara and Sai Chun hurried over upon hearing the sound. After learning about their daughter's ordeal, Both believed that someone had broken into Katie's room. So Sai Chun asked Clara to stay and keep the child company, while she searched nearby for traces of the intruder. But in the end, she didn't find even a shadow of a person. She only found a music box that was playing. Just as Sai Chun picked it up, her mother suddenly appeared behind her, and concluded that everything was related to the spirit child. She then snatched the music box from Sai Chun's hands, and personally threw it into the nearby lake. Although Sai Chun didn't understand why her mother hated the music box so much, she didn't think much of it. Little did she know that the next morning, the altar at the door suddenly dropped its offerings automatically. Immediately, a shadow appeared at Sai Chun's bedside, and it fiercely grabbed his neck. Sai Chun suddenly woke up during the struggle. He realized it was just a nightmare, but before he could catch his breath, he suddenly couldn't stop spitting blood. He even spat out a fetal embryo from his mouth. Frightened, Sai Chun woke up from the bed again. It turned out he had just experienced a dream within a dream. For Sai Chun, this was something he had never experienced before. Meanwhile, Katie suddenly told Clara that she felt the ghost that appeared last night was her deceased brother. Her daughter's words convinced Clara that the ancient spirit child was indeed effective. So after calming Katie down, she brought out a tray of desserts and drinks, arriving in front of the ghost child, hoping her son would appear soon to meet her. "Can you hear me, Sack? Mom is here, Sack." Clara then tightly embraced the ghost child. She kept murmuring her son's name. Unbeknownst to her, her son's ghost, mangled and bloody, was standing right behind Clara at that moment. By the time she sensed it, Sack's ghost had vanished in an instant, although she couldn't see her son's ghost with her own eyes. At least this was the first time since Sack's death that Clara truly felt his presence. She couldn't help but share this good news with Kun Nan and her son. To her surprise, Kun Nan poured cold water on her. "Are you sure it's him? Your child. It could be something else." Kun Nan repeatedly reminded Clara. The spirit doll can attract evil spirits. Advise her to throw away Gumantang as soon as possible. However, Clara had no intention of doing so. While they were chatting, Katie discovered the sweets her mother had offered to her brother. She couldn't help but sneak a few candies. Unexpectedly, this led to all her teeth falling out. Terrified, Katie wanted to go find her mother for help. To her surprise, all the doors closed automatically. Frightened, Katie could only crouch by the door. She kept calling for her mother. When Clara and the others arrived, Katie realized that her teeth hadn't actually fallen out at all. What she had just seen seemed to be just an illusion. However, when Clara found out that her daughter had stolen her son's candy, she not only got angry at her, but also demanded that her daughter put the candy back immediately. Sai Chun saw that Katie was so scared she was frozen in place, so she wanted to help her put down the candy. Little did she know that Clara wouldn't allow outsiders to touch the candy. She even pushed Sai Chun away. "What's wrong with you? Don't mind me. Can we talk? I said get out." The furious Clara not only slapped Sai Chun hard, but also accused them of affecting her son's resurrection. Then she went completely crazy, and drove them all out. Katie, who knew she had done something wrong, had no choice but to sit alone in the yard and cry. However, after a while, she actually heard her brother Zach's voice. So she hurriedly stood up and looked around. Little did she know that her brother had been hiding right behind her. She saw the deceased Zach appear before her. He even tapped her shoulder and ran away. It turned out this was a game they often played together. Katie thought her brother had really come back, so she hurried over to play with him. But Katie, who was only focused on playing with her brother, did not notice at all that a sinister expression was gradually appearing on his face. She saw that Zach was deliberately leading Katie under a pair of scissors. He intended to make the scissors fall and hurt Katie. However, unexpectedly, Sai Chun happened to pass by. She also casually called her away. This inadvertently saved Katie's life. Clara, who was completely unaware of this, was still reminiscing about the happy times with her son. Suddenly, she heard her son calling from behind her. Clara turned around to see that Zach was standing right behind her. Eager to see her son, she hurriedly rushed over and tightly embraced her son, whom she thought she had lost. At this moment, overly curious Kun Nan was hiding outside, eavesdropping on Clara's conversation. After a while, she unexpectedly heard a sound from another room, the sound of a music box. Kun Nan's expression suddenly changed, and she immediately went to the room where the music was coming from, only to see a long-haired woman standing in front of a mirror, brushing her hair. Kun Nan was just about to ask her identity, when the woman suddenly rushed over and threw Kun Nan to the ground, then fiercely grabbed her by the neck. Clara next door was the first to hear Kun Nan's cries, but when she rushed over, she saw Kun Nan lying on the ground, choking herself. She hurried over, trying to pry Kun Nan's hands apart, but was mistaken by Sai Chun, who arrived shortly after, to be trying to kill her own mother. What was even more unbelievable to Clara was that the attacked Kun Nan actually pointed at her without distinguishing right from wrong. "She wants to kill me, what? She wants to kill me." Clara doesn't understand why Kun Nan is turning right and wrong upside down. She feels disappointed in herself for not trusting Sai Chun more. She feels there's no need for her to stay any longer, so she packed her bags. She planned to leave here overnight with Katie, but just as Clara started the car, the mother and daughter suddenly discovered a female ghost standing in front of the car. Clara was so scared that she hurriedly hit the brakes, but she found that the ghost had disappeared in an instant. She had intended to keep driving, but Katie beside her was looking at her with a terrified expression. It turned out that Katie saw the ghost sitting behind her mother. It even reached out and tightly grabbed her neck. Clara hurriedly hit the brakes and tried to shake off the ghost. In the end, it was thanks to Sai Chun's timely appearance. Just saved her and her child. Witnessed the haunting fact right before my eyes. Sai Chun realized that she had misunderstood Clara. Under his persuasion, Clara also changed her mind and decided to stay. After this misunderstanding, their relationship was even better than before, and they decided to hold the wedding as soon as possible. But their conversation happened to be overheard by Kun Nan, who was hiding in the corner. To prevent her son from leaving with this woman, she decided to take some action. But by night, it was actually Sai Chun who secretly took the spirit doll first, and went to the lakeside. In his view, the recent series of strange events were all related to this ugly doll, so he threw the spirit doll into the lake. But right after that, he saw a figure standing across the lake. The appearance of the figure was very similar to the female ghost that appeared last night. In order to uncover the truth of the matter, Sai Chun bravely rowed the boat to the opposite shore. He discovered that the soil beneath his feet not only had signs of being disturbed, the music box that his mother had thrown away was surprisingly here as well. Sai Chun realized that there must be other things buried below. He immediately picked up a shovel and started digging. However, he had considered countless possibilities, but never thought that there was actually a female corpse buried here, and it was his ex-girlfriend. Although Sai Chun was confused about why his ex-girlfriend would die here, he speculated that his mother must know the reason. Otherwise, she would never have been so quick to throw away the music box. Meanwhile, Kun Nan was personally preparing a late-night snack, and served it in front of Clara, urging her to drink it all while it was hot. In order to avoid further conflict with Kun Nan, Clara had no choice but to drink the entire bowl of soup. But immediately after, she collapsed and fell to the ground. Clara then realized that the late-night snack was actually poisoned. "I won't let you take him away from me." It turns out that Kun Nan did this just to keep his son by his side. She originally wanted to kill Katie as well. However, this clever girl had already hidden under the bed. Plus, Sai Chun returned just in time to confront her mother. This allowed her to escape a disaster. And Kun Nan, faced with his son's questioning, could only admit in the end that his ex-girlfriend also choked to death after drinking the poisoned soup. That music box was an item carried by his ex-girlfriend. Sai Chun didn't expect that her paranoid mother would actually kill two people for her, and he couldn't sacrifice his family for his girlfriend. He could only choose to silently endure the pain. But what they didn't know was, at that moment, the ghost of his ex-girlfriend appeared in front of Katie holding a spirit child, and possessed the recently deceased Clara, then rushed over and strangled the weak man to death. Next, she spat out a large amount of black water. She revived Clara, who should have died. Finally, she took control of Kun Nan's body, forcing her to take a knife and slit her own throat. After Katie learned that her mother had come back to life, she immediately took the spirit doll and prepared to leave with her mother. Unexpectedly, her brother, transformed into a vengeful spirit, suddenly appeared behind her. He also pushed her down the stairs. Clara, who rushed over, witnessed this scene. She couldn't accept that her son had become so cruel and heartless. In the end, she could only bear the pain and smash the spirit doll. She completely gave up on the idea of reviving her son. The saying goes that the dead cannot be brought back to life. If you want to defy fate, the price will only be more painful. Alright, that's the end of today's story. I am a fragrant pig. See you next time.